Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're looking at what it takes to become a justice of the peace.
Which is a pretty cool job when you think about it.
It is. And you know me, I love to geek out over the RoleCatcher guides, so we're going to dive into those today.
Absolutely. And those guides are packed with info. See, we have the career guide and the interview guide.
Yeah, we're going to hit both of those. Now, I was looking over the career guide and found it fascinating that a justice of the peace is responsible for keeping the peace in their entire jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility. And it's not just about, handing down rulings. It's about really fostering a sense of harmony in the community.
It's interesting you say that because I was thinking jurisdiction is like a neighborhood,
Yeah.
right? But often it's much bigger than that.
Exactly. And that's something to keep in mind when you're interviewing. You need to show that you're passionate about serving those people, that whole area.
Yeah,
That's a huge plus for potential employers.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's dive into some questions from the interview guy, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question is a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career as a justice of the peace? Sounds pretty simple, but the guide really warns against giving a generic answer here.
It does. You got to think, hiring managers, they've heard it all before, right?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm interested in law, or I want to make a difference. So what you want to do is think about a specific event or experience that really spark your interest in justice.
Right, because anyone can say those things.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Did you ever witness like an unfair situation? Maybe something happened in your community, or maybe something happened when you were younger. Or maybe someone you really admire inspired you, something that really made you want to make a difference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You sharing a personal story like that will really help you stand out
Mhm.
because it shows them who you are, not just some, robot reciting
It
facts.
shows your heart.
Exact.
Now, another question that caught my eye was, how do you ensure your decisions are consistent with the law and principles of justice?
Mm.
And this one I feel like is really all about showcasing your knowledge.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's about showing them that you understand the legal side of things
Yeah.
and that you're not just going to be winging it up there on the bench. You got to show them that you take it seriously.
And that you know what you're doing.
Exactly. So instead of just saying, oh, I'll follow the law, you want to talk about, the specific resources you use to stay up to date. Like maybe you subscribe to some legal journals, or maybe you attend workshops and seminars, stuff like that.
So they know you're really serious about your craft.
Exactly. It shows that you're a lifelong learner,
Mm.
always striving to be the best, which, let's be honest, is what they want.
Right. They want the best.
They want someone who is on top of their game. So you got to show them that you're that person.
Now, here's a tricky one. Okay. How do you handle cases where the law and your personal beliefs might be in conflict?
Oh, that's a good one. It's a tough one, too.
It's a tough one. It feels like an ethical tightrope walk, right?
It is, and they're asking that question to assess your integrity, to see if you're going to cave under pressure or if you're going to stick to your principles.
So how should someone approach answering that question?
You have to be honest. Acknowledge that those conflicts can happen. I mean, we're all human rights. We all have our own personal beliefs. But the key here is to emphasize that your primary duty is to uphold the law, even if it clashes with your own views.
So it's about finding that balance between being true to yourself, but also upholding the law no matter what.
Exactly. You got to show them that you can be objective and impartial, even when it's hard.
Okay. That's great advice.
Mm.
And then another thing that the interview guide talks about is handling cases involving people who don't speak English.
That's an important one.
It is, and it made me think about, you know, clear communication is obviously essential, but what if you don't speak the other person's language?
Right.
What do you do then?
Well, this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI can really come in handy.
Really?
Yeah, because, not everyone is a polyglot, right?
Not at all.
But RoleCatcher can help you bridge that gap. It can analyze the situation and suggest the most culturally sensitive and effective way to communicate. It can even help you find the right words to use so you don't accidentally offend anyone.
So it's like having a built-in translator and communication coach.
It really is.
That's pretty awesome.
It is, and it takes a lot of the pressure off.
Yep.
Because you don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing or misinterpreting something.
Yeah, that's a huge relief. Okay, so moving on to another question. How do you ensure you remain impartial when making decisions? And this one feels pretty straightforward, right? Just say, I'm fair, and move on. But I bet there's more to it than that.
Oh, there definitely is. Anyone can say they're fair, but you got to back it up. They want to see that you have a deep understanding of what impartiality really means and that you have a system in place to make sure you're actually being fair.
So how can someone showcase that in an interview?
Well, think about it this way. We all have biases, right? Conscious or unconscious. It's just part of being human. But the key is to acknowledge those biases and then explain the steps you take to recognize and overcome them. Maybe you have a specific method you use to evaluate evidence, or maybe you consult with other professionals to get different perspectives. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you're not just flying by the seat of your pants.
That you have a process in place to make sure you're being as fair as possible.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about this one? How do you handle cases where the evidence is unclear or conflicting? I imagine this one could get pretty intense.
It can, because sometimes there's not a clear-cut answer, right? You got to really weigh the evidence and use your best judgment.
So what's the best way to approach this question?
Well, this is where your analytical skills come in. You want to explain your process for reviewing the evidence thoroughly and considering all the different perspectives. Maybe you have a method for organizing the information or a checklist you go through. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you have a structured approach and that you don't just jump to conclusions.
That you're a careful and thoughtful decision maker.
Exactly. And that you're willing to put in the work to get to the truth, even when it's messy.
Okay, awesome. Now, the guide also touches on the career progression of a justice of the peace. So like entry level to senior level and everything in between.
It does. It even has example profiles for each stage.
Yeah, it does. But let's stick with interview prep for now.
Sounds good.
Okay, this next question is a bit of a curveball. How do you handle cases involving vulnerable populations such as children or the elderly?
That's a really important one, because you're dealing with people who might be more easily taken advantage of or who might not be able to advocate for themselves as effectively.
Right.
So you have to be extra careful and compassionate.
So how can someone demonstrate that in an interview setting?
Well, you want to highlight any experience you have working with those groups, or any specific knowledge you have about the law designed to protect them. And you want to show that you understand the importance of creating a safe and supportive environment for them.
So it's about going beyond just the legal aspect and really showing that you care about the human impact of your decisions.
Exactly. You got to show them that you're not just a robot,
Yeah.
that you have empathy and compassion.
Okay. This next one is all about staying current. How do you ensure you remain up to date with changes in the law and legal precedents?
Oh, that's another one where you got to showcase your dedication to learning. And you want to be specific here. Don't just say, oh, I read legal updates. Talk about the specific journals you subscribe to, or the conferences you attend, or the professional organizations you're a part of.
So they know you're really plugged into the legal community.
Exactly. You want to show them that you're proactive and invested in your professional growth.
That you're not just keeping up, but you're ahead of the curve.
Ex-
Okay, this next question feels like it's getting at your problem-solving abilities. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts between parties?
That's a big part of the job, right? Because you're going to be dealing with people who are at odds with each other, and your job is to help them find a resolution.
Right.
So you want to describe your process for active listening and understanding the different viewpoints,
Yeah.
and how you facilitate open communication between the parties. Maybe you have a technique for de-escalating tense situations or finding common ground. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you can be a peacemaker, not just a judge.
You're a mediator.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a bit. The interview guide also dives into questions about time management and organization.
Which are essential skills for any job, really.
Exactly. And this one is no different. So here's the question. How do you prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively?
This is where you get to showcase your organizational prowess. Use to-do lists, a calendar system. Maybe you block out time for specific tasks or have a strategy for dealing with interruptions. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you're efficient and can handle a demanding workload.
That you're not going to get bogged down by the chaos.
Exactly. Because let's face it, this job is going to be chaotic sometimes.
I can imagine. Okay, here's a question that really gets at the heart of the role. How do you see the role of a justice of the peace in serving the community?
Oh, that's a good one. It's your chance to connect your work to the bigger picture. So you want to talk about the importance of upholding the law fairly and ensuring access to justice for everyone, and creating a safe and just environment for the community you serve.
So it's about showing them that you're not just interested in the job, but you're really invested in the community's well-being.
Exactly. You got to show them that you care.
Okay, this next question is interesting. Tell me about a time you had to lead a team or group. What challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
That's a classic leadership question. And the key here is to choose a situation where you demonstrated those leadership skills. Maybe you had to face a challenge or overcome an obstacle. And then you want to highlight your communication skills and your ability to delegate tasks and solve problems.
So it's about showing them that you can not only make decisions, but you can also inspire and motivate others.
Exactly, because a good leader is someone who can get people to buy into their vision and work together towards a common goal.
Okay, let's imagine you're in the hot seat and they hit you with this one. Imagine you're presiding over a case where two parties have very different accounts of what happened. How would you go about determining the truth?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because you got to be like a detective, right? You got to piece together the evidence and try to figure out what really happened.
So how do you approach that?
You want to describe your systematic approach to evidence gathering and your ability to identify inconsistencies in the testimonies. And you want to emphasize your commitment to uncovering the truth even in complex situations. So you got to show them that you're not going to be swayed by emotions or personal opinions. You're going to stick to the facts.
You're going to be neutral.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk ethics. How do you ensure that your personal opinions or biases do not influence your decisions as a justice of the peace?
This is another one that's all about demonstrating your integrity and commitment to fairness. You want to talk about your process for recognizing your own biases and taking steps to mitigate them. Maybe you consult with other professionals or seek diverse perspectives or refer to established legal precedents. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you're aware of the human element in decision-making and that you have strategies in place to ensure impartiality.
Okay, here's one that takes a broader view. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the justice system today?
Oh, that's a good one, because it shows that you're not just focused on your own little world, you're aware of the bigger picture. So do your research beforehand and be prepared to discuss some of the challenges like access to justice or systemic bias or the impact of technology on legal proceedings, stuff like that.
So it's about showing them that you're engaged with a larger conversation about justice and fairness.
Exactly.
Okay, and then they might wrap things up with a question like this. What excites you most about the prospect of becoming a justice of the peace?
Oh, this is your chance to let your passion shine through. Is it about serving your community? Is it about upholding the law? Is it about making a positive difference in people's lives? Whatever it is, let them know. Let your enthusiasm show.
Because they want to see that you're not just going through the motions,
Yeah.
that you're genuinely excited about this job.
Exactly, because if you're not excited about it, why should they be?
Right. And I'm genuinely excited about RoleCatcher. And we're going to dive into that in just a minute. So hold tight, everybody. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right, so we just spent a good chunk of time talking about interview questions, but, becoming a justice of the peace is a whole career.
It is. It's not just about getting through that interview.
Exactly, and that's where the career guide comes in, right?
Absolutely. It's like a roadmap for your journey as a justice of the peace.
Now, I was looking over the career guide, and one thing I thought was really cool was that it breaks down different career stages, and they even have example profiles for each level.
It's so helpful.
It is. It's like getting a sneak peek into what other justices of the peace are actually doing.
Yeah, it's like having mentors you can learn from even before you land the job.
I like that. So, for example, the entry-level profile talks about assisting a more senior justice of the peace.
Right. You're doing research, you're helping with legal documents, you're even observing court proceedings.
So you're getting that hands-on experience.
Exactly. And you're learning the ropes from someone who's been there and done that.
And then as you move up to a junior level position, the profile talks about handling smaller cases independently.
Right. So you're starting to get more autonomy.
And you're actually applying those skills that you've been honing.
Exactly. And then, you move up to senior level and you're overseeing a whole team of people.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It's a really rewarding career path.
It sounds like it. Okay, so let's jump back into those interview questions for a minute.
Sure.
I think there are a few more that we should cover.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this one is about delegation. How do you prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively when you have a team?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Because as you move up in your career, you're going to have more and more people reporting to you.
Right.
So you got to be able to manage your time wisely and delegate tasks effectively.
So how can someone demonstrate that they can do that?
Well, you want to talk about your time management techniques, like using to-do lists or a calendar system. Or maybe you have a system for prioritizing tasks or a strategy for dealing with interruptions. Whatever it is, you got to show them that you're organized and efficient.
That you got it all under control.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about this one? Tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision. How did you approach it?
Ooh, that's a classic behavioral interview question.
It is.
They're trying to get a sense of how you handle pressure and how you make decisions under stress.
So how should someone answer this question?
Well, you want to pick a situation where you faced a tough choice, ideally one that's relevant to the justice of the peace role.
Right.
And then you want to walk them through your decision-making process, highlighting your analytical skills and your ability to remain calm under pressure.
And it's okay if the outcome wasn't perfect.
Right. What matters is that you learned from the experience.
Okay. Here's one that touches on cultural sensitivity.
Yeah.
How do you handle cases involving individuals from diverse backgrounds?
Oh, that's a really important one these days.
It is, especially with the increasing diversity of our community.
Exactly. You got to be able to treat everyone with respect and understanding, regardless of their background.
So what's the best way to approach this question?
Well, you can talk about any experiences you have working with diverse communities, or your knowledge of cultural sensitivities, or even just your willingness to learn and adapt to different perspectives.
So it's about showing them that you can create a fair and welcoming environment for everyone.
Exactly.
All right, how about this one? How do you ensure you stay up to date on legal developments and changes in the law?
Ah, yes, the importance of continuous learning.
Exactly. The law is constantly evolving, so you got to stay on top of it.
Right. So you want to mention any specific legal journals you follow or professional development courses you take or memberships in legal associations, stuff like that.
So they know you're committed to staying current in your field.
Exactly.
Okay, here's a classic interview question. What are your strengths and weaknesses as they relate to this role?
Yeah, this one can be tricky.
You can. Especially the weakness part.
Right. No one wants to talk about their weaknesses.
So how should someone approach this?
Well, for strengths, you want to be specific and relate them to the justice of the peace role. So things like communication skills, impartiality, problem solving, those are all good ones.
And for weaknesses?
Choose something that you're actively working to improve. The key is to show that you're self-aware and that you're committed to personal growth.
So it's not really about the weakness itself, but how you're addressing it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's try a scenario-based question. How would you handle a situation where a party in your court is being disruptive?
Oh, that's a good one. Because you got to maintain order in the court. So you want to outline the steps you would take, starting with a verbal warning, and then potentially escalating to removing the individual from the courtroom if necessary.
So it's about showing them that you can be firm but fair. Okay, here's one that tests your ability to think on your feet. What would you do if you encountered a situation where you were unsure of the proper legal procedure?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because you don't want to make a mistake, right? So you want to be honest and admit that you wouldn't proceed without being certain. And then you want to explain that you would consult legal resources or seek guidance from a mentor or research precedents to make sure you're applying the law correctly.
So it's about showing them that you prioritize accuracy over speed.
Exactly.
And that you're willing to seek help when needed.
Right.
Okay, last question for this section. Why are you passionate about becoming a justice of the peace?
Oh, this is your chance to let your heart shine through.
It is.
Talk about why you want to serve your community, why you believe in upholding the law, why you think this role is important. Whatever it is, let your passion shine through.
Give them that genuine enthusiasm.
Exactly.
Because that's what's going to make you stand out from the other candidates.
It is.
All right, so we've covered a ton of ground on interview questions. But now let's talk about how RoleCatcher can help you take your prep to the next level.
Yeah, let's dive into those AI features.
Okay, so we've prepped for a ton of those Justice of the Peace interview questions, but now it's time to unleash the power of RoleCatcher's AI features.
Yeah, these features are really game changers when it comes to interview prep.
I'm particularly curious about this answer builder you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
I know, right? It's like having a personal interview strategist in your pocket.
So let's say you're working on that question. What inspired you to pursue a career as a Justice of the Peace? Do you just type that into RoleCatcher and it like spits out a perfect answer for you?
No, it's not that simple. It's much more sophisticated than that.
Okay, so how does it work?
So the answer builder pulls insights from all of RoleCatcher's resources, like the career guide, the interview guide. It even analyzes successful answers from other candidates.
Wow, so it's like having access to a massive database of interview wisdom.
Exactly. But here's the key. It helps you tailor those insights to your own unique story and qualifications. So you're not just giving some generic cookie-cutter response.
You're putting your own personal spin on it.
Exactly.
Okay, so the AI helps me tailor my answer. What happens next?
Then the AI gives you feedback on your answer, just like a personal coach would.
Really?
Yeah, it might suggest adding a specific example or clarifying a point or even adjusting your tone to sound more confident. Stuff like that.
So it's like having a second set of eyes to make sure your answers are polished and impactful.
Exactly.
And is that it?
No, there's more. Remember that video practice tool we talked about?
Uh-huh.
Well, you can use that to practice delivering your answers on camera. And then the AI analyzes your body language, your tone, everything.
It's like having a personal stylist for your interview presence.
It really is. And it might suggest, adjusting your posture or making more eye contact or projecting your voice more confidently. Stuff like that.
That's awesome.
It is. And the best part is you can practice as many times as you need to until you feel totally comfortable and ready to shine.
I love that. It takes so much pressure off.
It does. And all of these features combined with the career guides and interview questions, they really make RoleCatcher an invaluable resource for anyone prepping for a Justice of the Peace interview.
It's like having a whole support team in your pocket.
It really is.
So to wrap things up, what's the most important thing for our listeners to remember as they head into that interview?
I'd say the most important thing is to be yourself. Showcase your commitment to justice. Let your passion shine through, and you'll do great.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, best of luck with your Justice of the Peace interviews.